So, did you know that loneliness and isolation are on the rise? The pandemic, of course, added a lot to this, but these things were actually on the rise well before that. Studies show that most Americans actually literally have fewer friends than we used to have just a few years ago. And loneliness and isolation are really bad for you. Studies have linked them with a lot of health conditions and with mental health conditions. The truth is that we need people. We need people around us. And as people of faith, we especially need other people of faith around us. So it's no surprise that the scripture calls us to live our lives and our faith in community. Hebrews 10:24 and 25 says this. It says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another all the more as we see the day approaching." This passage points out that we need one another to spur us on to be our best selves, to spur us on to things like love and good deeds. But it also says that we need to be together to encourage one another. And that's really true. Life is pretty difficult at times, and we need the support and the encouragement of others. So the passage says, don't stop meeting together. Don't stop coming to church. Don't stop fellowshipping together in all the different ways that we do. And yet, it's really common for people to do just that, to stop coming to church, to stop fellowshipping with others in the way that they used to regularly. Sometimes it's because life gets busy or they just drift away from faith. But a lot of other times, what it is that people withdraw from the church when they've had a hard season, or maybe they've messed up in some way. I think sometimes people feel embarrassed for others to see the state that they're in, or they feel embarrassed about something that they've done or they're doing. And it's really sad. It is so sad that we isolate ourselves oftentimes in those hardest moments when we need the family of God, their love and support so much, and yet we choose to suffer alone. I can tell you that as a pastor, one of the most common things that people who are struggling in faith have in common is isolation. So often, people who are struggling in faith, not always, but so often, people who are struggling in faith are not going to church, not fellowshipping. They're isolating. They're not having that fellowship with other believers. I want you to listen to another passage. This is Ecclesiastes 4:9-12. It says, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If one falls down, the other can help them up, but pity the one who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken." This passage says it straight out. We are better together. We can do more. We're safer. We're stronger together. So I want to urge us to commit to 3 things. And the first thing is this: let's commit to being in community. If you haven't got a church, I really want to encourage you to find one. We'd love to have you here at Orchard if you live nearby. Maybe you have a church, but you just haven't been going. You haven't been regularly engaging in fellowship. Go and do that. Let's commit to being in community because we'll be blessed by that. The second thing is, let's all commit to seeking to make that community deep and rich, because it really does take all of us seeking to do that. Because if we do, we'll be blessed by that as well. And one last thing, let's also commit to inviting others into that community, those outside of it, inviting them into it, that they too might be blessed by the depth and the richness of that spiritual community.